mechanism to try to help me to shut demons up in my head, because it seems like whenever I want to put them to task and actually expose malevolence and just talk about what I call a discord engine, which is kind of this this source of discord, this within your soul, that sometimes you to some kind of new realization that has pretty much nothing to do with the bullshit that may be going on in your head, but it's sort of a way of driving towards resonance in sort of an sideways manner. But I wanted to more mention like what it feels like when I try to, in my own mind, connect with a certain kind of soul. Like, say, I try to commune with Jesus, and apparently everything in my head seems to think it has a really good idea of who Jesus is. And for any of those ideas, what I normally say is that I've had the experience of sort of staring off in the distance and thinking that I'm seeing the world through another person's eyes. And then I put that into perspective of just how many different modes we go through just in a single day without continuity even. I mean, psychologists have said that merely walking through a doorway is something that can shift your personality and affect your memory. So, those kinds of stark changes to a person are the kind of things that is ignored in that circumstance. And for that, I just say that souls are a lot more complex than the little pieces of a person that you might get. And if you're getting like intense rage, I'm sure Jesus had intense rage, absolutely. But you had his compassion. You had him dealing with droves of people almost all the time. Do you think he was yelling and angry all that time, and that's how he got so many followers? No. I'll just leave it on as a security camera. They can watch me change my clothes. I miss my aunt. See, because I have been dealing with a place where essentially sort of the modality of hell is that, well, I actually don't believe it has to be that way. I believe that people, there's certain kinds, in hell, there is the boss, the person who is supposed to be in charge. And that person essentially eats or burns every soul they come across and tries to breathe new life in them with the imagery that they think that best suits whatever situation they're trying to proliferate. And it's sick because it's a matter of coming in against the genuine interaction that a living person might have with their ancestors or their relatives that have passed, and completely tearing them down and then trying to add the imagery to what I call soul gear. I know this is the stupidest terminology ever, but by soul gear, I mean those aspects of our soul that we carry on that aren't intrinsic to what our soul is. And by that, I mean like imagery and expedients, I guess you could call them, that help a soul to interact and subsist in a world that has properties that aren't intrinsic to the soul. So one of those would be like the sense of having some, like maybe an external perspective that a living person might take on them. That's what I like. Is if I imagine like I am having a visitor that may be a gray, and I know it's strange, but I will imagine them away from me. They are not being held by my hand tightly like you would get with the U.S. government, which is the way that the way that aliens have been treated by the first people to ever come into contact with them was extremely disrespectful, considering they are essentially infinitely far away from their vessel, and making it here simply based on their soul's journey here on earth and whatever they're working on, and to hold on to them essentially with such a tight grip that you kill them in a sense. And now don't worry, I know there's a backup perspective for this, which is that essentially the grays will just take more time, but it's really, really cruel to sort of, and or to use those strong hands and hold on to them like that. So I try to take an external one, but there's other stuff, like if you consider the souls of animals, they really, it seems strange to me that in my experience they have attributes that would give them a certain level of insight that they could never really have, but at the same time they really do have that cow soul in a sense. And those kinds of things are important, but they should be done by the right ancestors. And for us, that really is, we're talking about aliens. We're talking about bipedal creatures that essentially made a very similar journey technologically, and aimed for the stars, and journeyed and grew on a soul level to the point of I shouldn't say a point of understanding. They've grown to a point of understanding that's beyond what we can fathom or will probably ever catch up with as humans we are now. But they come from a place that has a genuine soul that we are modeled after. And don't you freeze on me right now, but essentially it's become the habit for us as humans and religiously and spiritually to tear ourselves apart in seemingly arbitrary ways, given the way that it just seems to cohere when it goes naturally. And you would think after thousands and thousands of years we would actually learn how to do this effectively, but I haven't seen it done to that kind of effectiveness. And I think that speaks to the complexity of the soul. It speaks to the intrinsic order of the soul. And it speaks to problems involving how we treat human souls, because honestly, human souls are rarer than dog souls, it seems like. Every human soul you come across is pretty much one of those torn apart, put back together, constructed demons that really does result when you start to treat people like they're pieces of Play-Doh that you can pull apart and just arbitrarily put back together and expect yourself to get some kind of order. Okay. End stream.